All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. I'd also like to give double honors to my elders and apostles of Great Millstone that do well. And I would like to say peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect and the 1/3. And Lord's will, this lesson will be edifying as well as exhorting to the sincere sheep of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakwadash, and the Wada, Abanawa Yahweh, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Forgive me the inspiration to do this lesson. And as the title reads, the recipients of Apostle Paul's letters, the recipients of Apostle Paul's letters are Israelites. Okay. And, these modern day Christians, okay, here in Babylon, all right, they're not going to like this. All right, because the only crutch that Christians hold to, is ultimately the letters of Paul, okay, Apostle Paul at that. And what I want to do is I want to pinpoint in particular letters that were written by Apostle Paul to certain regions, okay, like you have the book of Romans, that's for Rome. You have the book of Corinthians, that's for those in Corinth. You have the book of Galatians, that's for those in Galatia, and so on. So what I want to do is I want to pull out these letters and I want to cross-reference it, pinpointing how every time you have, these letters in that region, you also had Israelites there, okay? So, if you're here for truth and ultimately Yahweh Shemel Shai is dealing with you, then you will see that what we are saying is to be true. If not, you can hold to these lies, and soon you will be confounded when prophecy gets fulfilled. So I don't want to make this too long, but I do want to show you what I'm talking about here. So let me make sure the audio is good. Okay, so first things first, let's go right here. All right, let's go to this. I want to build a context. This is one thing that Christians constantly for years have told us, context. Well, when you look at the context of the scriptures, and particularly Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians, you'll see that these are regions where Apostle Paul was journeying, and each letter was directed to these recipients based off certain situations that happened to them, now being, baptized in the faith of Yahweh Shai. Okay. And if you didn't know, Israel is scattered amongst all nations. Let me show you that. I can actually give you two precepts, and I'm not going to make it too long on that, but I do want to address these for edificational sake. And then I'm going to go right into linking these letters in these regions with Israelites right in that region as well. So disclaimer, when you read the scriptures, you cannot just assume that Jews, Israelites, those that come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were just in the land of Israel. No, that's not the case at all. And ultimately, that's a simple-minded mindset to have when you're reading the scriptures. Okay, the Bible is beautiful. The problem is modern day Christianity complicates it. The Bible is very beautiful. Modern day Christianity complicates it. They're not deep. They don't tell you nothing about prophecy. They don't warn us. The only thing you talk about is hell. You can't even prove that, which is not even true. It doesn't exist. We're living in hell right now. Christianity does not have the answers. Okay, we are the true Christians. All right. Now let me show you this. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 54. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, and the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, if you didn't know, Deuteronomy 28:15 on down to 68 is curses that will put upon the nation of Israel for their disobedience. And one of those curses is that we would be scattered, because one of the blessings is that we would be a holy nation in a holy land by ourselves. So what better punishment to give a disobedient nation is to scatter them amongst the unholy. But this is why the Lord, Jeremiah 3, he called his people back, but he had to call them back from foreign nations, from the mindset of being Gentiles, from the mindset of being like other nations. Hence why the word Gentile just means nations. Okay. Like if you were to say the Americans, well, what Americans? Deuteronomy 28:64, and the Lord shall scatter you Israelites among all people, shall scatter you among the Gentiles. Let's just see if across, I said I wasn't going to make this too long, but let's just see if all people change. Look, see, all nations, okay, all people. It should also say Gentiles, because the word Gentile just means nations. But I can give you a precept, showing you that it says Israel will be scattered amongst Gentiles. If that's the wordage that would seal the deal. Micah 5:7, Micah 5:8, it says, and the remnant of Jacob is his 12 sons. This is why the Bible constantly says the children of Israel, but when you go into the Hebrew for that word children, it means ban or banyam, which means sons. So the sons of Jacob, and the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles. See that? But how did they get there? Through curses. Now, real quick, I just want to see what this word Gentile means, and then we'll keep going on with this lesson. I'm just building it up because I want to give you this. See right there. Look, Gentile just means nation, people, nations or people, but Gentile can also mean Israel. Going back to what? Context. Okay. Context. All right. Right there. So Gentile just means nation or people, usually of non-Hebrew. Now, right here, wait a minute. We got to understand lineage. You have Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Hebrew came out of the line of Shem. So this actually can't necessarily be used because you have people that are Hebrew, that come from the line of Hebrew or Ibar. Okay. Esau comes from Ibar, the line of Shem. Was it Elam comes from the line of Shem. So there's a few nations that are Gentiles or foreigners, but they also are Hebrew as well. So we can't use this. Okay, so we can't use this. You go to Genesis 10, it shows you that. But I don't want to make it into all of that. But I do want to bring this out. Look, see, nations. See that? I will scatter you amongst all people or amongst all nations, i.e., this is why in the New Testament it's just referred to as Gentiles. Okay, so let's go back. Micah 5. Okay, Micah, if your spirit bears witness, then you'll see this truth. Micah 5:8, and the remnant of Jacob shall be amongst the Gentiles, shall be amongst the nations, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. So right here we see that even though Jacob will be in the midst of the Gentiles, ultimately they will be devoured. Okay, they will be devoured in judgment. Now let's go back to the curse. So this is rewinding, because we just fast forward with that precept. So this is the rewinding of how Jacob got in the midst of Gentiles, or in the midst of all people, because it was what? A curse put upon us. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all Gentiles, amongst all nations, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, right here in America, or Americas. And there thou shalt serve other gods. This is why we are in a Gentile mindset, because we were cursed to follow the ways of the heathen, not being holy. But this is why we're getting that call or reconciled back, adopted back, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, which today you would put what? Christianity and Islam. Now, why do I refer to Christianity as wood? Because Christians walk around with an idol that they call a cross, and they kiss and wear it across their chest and think that it protects them. That's an idol. Okay. But us as a people amongst these idol worshiping nations, we were cursed to worship them as well. Okay. This is why Apostle Paul said, ye once were Gentiles, carried away unto dumb idols. Now let's get into it. One more. Ezekiel 34:6. Real quick. Just got to drive this point home. My sheep, who's the Lord's sheep? The children of Israel. My sheep wandered through all the mountains represented nations, and upon every high hill, Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search or seek after them. See? So right here, we have three precepts showing that the nation of Israel would be scattered. They would be amongst all nations. They would be a lost people. They'd be identifying as whatever land or region they were in. Hence why they're called the Galatians. They're called the Corinthians. They're called the Colossians, but they are Israelites. They're called Corinthians, but they're Israelites. Now, what I want to do is I want to just prove this point. Okay, so just walk with me. All right, walk with me scholarly. Okay, so this is how I want to do it. So first thing, I want to read this for you. It says, I put in, how did Paul send his letters? Apostle Paul's letters were delivered by trustworthy couriers who were often co-workers of his. So right here is showing you that these letters are isolated, okay? Meaning this is a private affair, because I'll give you a brief account of history, okay? Now let's go right here, okay? And let's put in, how did the Roman Empire mailing system work? I'm going to show you something, okay? When you look it up, just like today, the Roman, which we're in Rome again, okay? We're in Rome again. We're in the Rome revival. The Roman Empire's mailing system, known as the cursus publicus, was a state-run courier service that primarily used relays of horses and carriages along the Roman road network to transport official messages and documents across the empire, with only government officials and those with special permission allowed to use it. Private individuals usually sent letters through merchants or servants. See? So just like even today, what's the main piece of mail that you receive in your temporary home that you have right now? It's mainly from what? Babylon. You'll get something from a bank, hospital, debt, school, ads, what's going on in the community. It's rare that you have a personal letter sent to you, okay? Now, and here in Babylon, you can get that. But back in ancient Rome, you weren't allowed to use Rome's mailing system. Okay. So Apostle Paul was sending his letters directly to a recipient. A recipient is someone who is waiting for mail addressed to them. The Israelites were the recipients of Apostle Paul's letters. Okay. They were the recipients. Look. Paul's letters were delivered by couriers who were chosen for their character, faith, and experience. Some of the couriers of Paul's letters include Stephanus, Fortunatus, Achaeus, Titus, Phoebe. These are all Greek names, and these are all Israelites, whether you like it or not. These are Israelites, by the way, and they'll scoff at that. Okay. And remember, what if some did not believe? It doesn't matter. We're letting the truth be known through the inspiration of the Ruach HaKodesh, whether they understand it, get it, or not. But when you look at this, you go, scratch my head. This does make sense. And let's further prove that. Okay. Now I want to read this. But before, I want to read this too. But before I do, let's just jump right into it. Okay. So where I would like to start is, well, let's go here. Okay. So when you look up, I got the map right here. We're also doing a breakdown of the book of Acts in its entirety. We're on, I believe, the 19th chapter right now. So what I want to do is I want to pull out a few letters of Apostle Paul. Okay, so let's just go like this. Okay, the first one's Rome. All right, I'm cool with that. So let's prove that the book of Romans is to Israelites. Now it's very simple. Now what I can do is let's do it like this. Let's look up the book of Rome for one. Let's go here, and then I'm going to go to Acts. Okay, and I'm going to go to Acts 18. Check this out. Okay, I can, very simple. Very simple. So right here, okay, let's put this in a very simpler way to read. NKJV. It's Acts 18:2. It says, and he being Apostle Paul, and he found a certain Jew, okay, an Israelite named Aquila, born in Pontus. So he was born in Pontus. Wait a minute. Now we're getting now we're getting a little deep. Okay, let me go here. Just give me a minute. Let's just put this in. Go like this. Boom, boom. Pontus, Kingdom of Pontus. Where? Okay, where? Bible times. Let's just see. See this real quick. In the Bible, Pontus was a province in Asia Minor. So here it is. You have an Israelite that's living in Asia Minor. You know what else is in Asia Minor? Galatia, Ephesus, Colossians. See that? Okay. And it says located along the southern coast of the Black Sea. It's mentioned in the Bible, Acts 2. Acts 2. That's a very good chapter that we're actually going to prove how they're Israelites as well. So right here, you have an Israelite that was born in Pontus, which is in Asia Minor. Okay. Look at that. Way over there, huh? So he's way up here. Let me go here. So look at this. So here's a Jew that's born up in this region. Look, Galatia. See, there's Galatia. Wait a minute. There's a book called To the Galatians, but then we have a Jew that's in the region of Galatia. See where I'm going? And I'm not done. So let's go back. Okay. It says, and he found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Asia Minor, born in the region of Galatia, but he's an Israelite that was born in the region of Galatia. You see where I'm going? Who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius, 49 AD, Claudius had commanded all the Jews to depart from Rome, and he came to them. So right here, you have a precept that shows that there are Israelites that were not only in Rome, but they lived amongst the Romans, but then they were kicked out of Rome. You see that? So then you have the book called what? The Book of Romans. So can one say, could this book possibly been directed to the recipients in that land, and those recipients were Israelites? Absolutely. Let's further prove that. Let's see. This is Romans 1. It says, Paul, a servant of Yahushua Mashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of Yahweh, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the holy scriptures concerning his son, Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed. This also cuts Christianity, because Yahushua was born of a woman, and that woman got pregnant by a man's seed, and that man was Joseph. So right here, he was born under the law to redeem them under the law. Okay. It's a seed of David according to the flesh. All right. And it says, according to the flesh. Now let's jump down right here. Verse 7. To all that be in Rome. Wait a minute. But we just read about how an Israelite just got kicked out of Rome. See that? Was he the only Israelite in Rome? No, because there were so many Israelites in Rome that the Edomite Empire, the Edomite Emperor Claudius exiled or kicked out the Israelites that were in Rome, like segregation. What? Segregation? Yeah. Wait a minute. Didn't we experience segregation? Oh, there's too many points. So look, let's make this though. It says to all that be in Rome, beloved of Yahweh, because that wasn't the first time. Because you got to remember, we got kicked out in 49 AD. Then we were allowed to come back when Nero got in office, and then Nero declared to destroy our temple, but he died 2 years before that was completed in 70 AD. Okay, so it says, to all that be in Rome, beloved of Yahweh, called to be saints. Wait a minute. So now you have to find out who are the saints according to the Bible. See this? And I'm going to make it easier than this. I'm using this one, but it's watch how easier it's going to correlate. Look at, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Very simple. Who made a covenant with Yahweh by sacrifice? Let's see what the commentary says. We're just real quick. Gather my saints together. Let's see what he says. Look at this. It says, it can be argued. It ain't argued. argue that Psalms 50 only has in direct view God's judgment of Israel because it is the nation joined to him in covenant. It should say covenants. Covenant as described here. There you go. Who made a covenant with Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by sacrifice? The nation of Israel. Exodus 19, 5 and 6. See that? Exodus 24, 5 through 8. They made a covenant by sacrifice. Okay? So right here, you see Paul is addressing specifically the saints that are in Rome. Then we find in Acts 18 that some of the saints that he met from Rome, he also found out they all got, these saints got kicked out of Rome. This is why he met a Jew in Corinth. Where are they at, matter of fact? Let me see. Yeah, right here. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth. See that right there? So now, let's keep going. So now we got the book of Romans out the way, okay, whether they like it or not. So we just correlated the book of Romans and correlated the nation of Israel as a recipient to that letter. So now let's go further. Perfect. Let's go to Corinthians now. So now we see Apostle Paul in Acts 18. In Acts 18 is where? In Corinth. So let's matter of fact, let's ride off that. Here's Corinth. Now, I like pulling up maps. The Wadi Abba Shemel Shai. Here's Corinth. Okay. This is Greece. Okay. Rome's over here. All right. So we're right here. Here's Corinth. Now let's see if in Corinth there were Israelites. Let's just see. Paul's at Corinth. Paul just met a Jew in Corinth. Paul just met a Jew that got kicked out of Rome. Now he's in Corinth. Okay. So now we're finding out in the scriptures that just because you're an Israelite doesn't mean that you'll only be found in Jerusalem. Remember, Apollos came from Alexandria, Egypt. So now let's go down Acts 18 and what? Acts 18 and 8. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue. What? The synagogue? What synagogue? The synagogue of the Jews. You see that? See that? The synagogue of the Jews. So now we found out there's a synagogue of Jews in Corinth. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue. Let's just see what this word synagogue means. What else would it have been? What else would it be? Let's go down. What's it say? Ruler of the synagogue. It was his duty to select the reader or teacher in the synagogue. Okay, I want more. Let's see what else. We know it, but we want to show it. Okay, so let's see. Let's just see what this one says. Let's go here. Just curious. Okay, we don't want that one. Let's go back. One more. I got more for you. Don't worry. Oh, what's this? Look. A synagogue, an assembly of Jews formally gathered together. See that? Formally gathered together. So now you found out that there are synagogues outside of Israel. So now let's go back. Let's further prove this. So now we're proving that the letter of Corinthians were to Israelites as well. We've just proved that with Romans. Now we're proving it with Corinthians. And Crispus, Acts 18 and 8, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all his house, and many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were baptized. So who do you think these Corinthians were or are that are around this synagogue that believe? Well, this is why you have Romans 8 and 18. See, what people don't want to admit or accept is the fact that you are reading love letters directed to a lover. Okay, remember, we are Yahweh Shai's bride. We're considered a beautiful and delicate woman. All right, so Christians have now taken these letters and tried to apply them to themselves without knowing the context of why the Ephesians were told this, why the Corinthians were told that. First of all, where Corinth was, it was called Sin City. Okay, it was literally called Sin City, and today, modern day Christians walk around and say they don't have to keep the law, but then you have Apostle Paul encouraging these men in the letters to live by the law. Okay. Now let's go into this. Romans 8 and 16. It says the Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of the Most High. See, this is why he had to tell him that, because he was waking up the Israelites that were in a foreign land, that didn't have a commonwealth. They were at the bottom. Esau's over them. Rome's over them. They can go here. They're under curses. They go there. They're just not accepted anywhere. But this is why the Lord raised up shepherds to gather his sheep that were scattered abroad. Okay. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is why you see Apostle Paul giving certain commandments to the new believers. He wasn't forcing the law down their throat. What he was doing was introducing them to their Savior, Yahweh Shai. And this is why modern day Christians today believe that the law is ultimately done away with. The law of sacrifice for forgiveness of sin is done away with, but we as Israelites live by the laws to the best of our ability, even though and while we are under grace. Okay, so I want to just prove that point real quick. So we got Corinthians out of the way. All right, right here you have in the land of Corinth a synagogue. Now I'm gonna go further with this synagogue too. All I'm doing is just linking the letters that Apostle Paul wrote to these regions and showing you that in these regions there were also Israelites. So one would just have to say, oh wow, when you make that statement, I can see why that would be said. So now let's keep going. Okay, so we got Rome out the way, Romans out the way, Acts 18 cuts that, Corinthians out the way, Acts 18 cuts that. Now look, Galatians, one of my favorite books. This is one of the first regions Apostle Paul, when he took his journey, went on. Okay, right here. Let me get a better one. Right here. Here's Galatia, or modern day Turkey. Okay, here's Galatia. All right, now look at it. Phrygia, keep that in mind. All right, so now let's go to the book of Galatians. So where we go for this one? All right, let's go like this. I think it's Acts 13. Let me just put this like this. Galatia. See what comes up. Okay, I got to go to it. Just give me a second. I think it's Acts 13. Let's read that real quick. All we're doing is correlating these regions with these letters and showing you that within that, you also had Israelites there as well. Let me see real quick. Let me get this one for you. This is Galatians, 16. Okay, yeah, it's 16. So now let's go to that real quick. So Acts 16, just give me a second. I can actually just show you it. Where is it? Let me get this letter right here. So here's Galatia, but in this region of Galatia is what? Phrygia, okay, Derbe, Lystria, Antioch. So I'm going to use these. I can't go to Colossians yet. All right, I'll go to Colossians in a minute, but let me show you this. So Galatia, okay, is in this region. And within this region, you have something called Phrygia. Now, were there Israelites from the land of Phrygia? Absolutely. Let me show you that real quick. I know it's a lot of information, but I'm just bringing all these points home. So first, I'll show you this, Acts 16. All right, and I'll go to verse 6 just to show you. Okay, just right here. Just give me a sec. Right there. Okay, so here's Galatia. Look. Now, when they had gone throughout Phrygia and the whole and the region of Galatia, okay. So now look, keep this in mind. So here's Phrygia and the region of Galatia, and you know what? I might have to add the letter of Colossians into this because I'm going to prove it to you just like this. So let's prove Galatia, the letter of Galatia and the letter of Colossians were the Israelites. All right. Now I know I said that. So watch this. Acts 16. And Acts 18 and 23, watch. I'm just giving you these regions, okay? When we find the region, we go to the letter and prove that letter was to Israelites in that region. So Colossians 18 and 23, right here, okay? It says, and after he had spent some time there, he departed and went over all the country of Galatia and Phrygia in order, strengthening all the disciples. Now, where's Colossians, one would ask? I'm going to show you, okay? It says the letter to the Colossians, also known as the epistle to the Colossians, was written by the Apostle Paul while he was imprisoned in Rome. So right here, He's writing a letter to the Colossians, and then he also wrote a letter to the Galatians in Galatia. And both of them are in the region of Phrygia. Are Israelites equated to Phrygia? Absolutely. Watch. Acts. Remember I talked about Acts 2? So Acts 2, right here, Acts 2 and 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Okay? Read this again. There were Jews out of every nation under heaven. Then when you go down to 10, right there, look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Phrygia. Okay? So what's in Phrygia? Galatia and Colossae. See? Colossae and Phrygia. So that's the book of Galatians and the book of Colossae, right there where Israelites were also at. Okay? So if you notice, these regions that Apostle Paul directed letters to, in these regions were also Israelites. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you moving forward? Okay, and I got more. All right, so we got Romans out the way. We got Corinthians out the way. We got Galatians out the way. We got Colossians out the way. Now we can let's do Philippians. All right, let's do Philippians. So now let's go to Acts 17. Check this out. Oh no, let's do Thessalonica. Perfect. So now the book of Thessalonians. Is there not a book? Is there not a letter to the Thessalonians? Right here. Let's look at this. Acts 17 and 1. Now when they had passed through Amphipolis, let me show you. Amphipolis, right up in this region. Okay. Should be up in this region. There, look, Thessalonica, right? It says, and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of Jews. So yet again, we find that where Apostle Paul was going, there was synagogue of Jews everywhere throughout. Okay? When you go through these regions where Apostle Paul was traveling, we find Israelites there as well. Okay. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, look at this one. Look at this one. So let me show you. So now we did Romans, Corinthians, Galatians. Here's Ephesians. Let's go to that. Let's go to Ephesians. This is Ephesians 18 and 19. And he came to Ephesus. Now he's in Ephesus, Asia Minor, way over here. Israel's way down here. So now he's in Ephesus. What does this say? What does this say? And he came to Ephesus and left them there. I believe he left Priscilla and Aquila. But and guess what? When he left Priscilla and Aquila in Ephesus, guess who they ran into? Apollos. And where was Apollos? Was a Jew from Alexandria. Wow. It says, and he came to Ephesus and left them there, but he himself entered into a synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. So all these letters, Philippians, wait a minute. Oh, I got another one. All these letters were finding out that there were Israelites amongst them in the midst of these regions where Apostle Paul's letters were sent, specifically addressed to a certain recipient. And within that, in these regions, there were Israelites as well. So one would have to respectfully agree and say, okay, according to prophecy, the curses being scattered, the covenants whose salvation's for, now seeing this, I see with each letter, there's a region, and within these regions, there are synagogues of Jews. So what does that tell you? These letters were directed to Israelites that were scattered abroad, that didn't know their nationality, but they had a zeal and their spirit bared witness, like us today. You see that? So we've literally gone through these letters. They use Romans against us. They use Corinthians against us. They always use Galatians against us. They use Ephesians against us, Colossians against us, and the Thessalonians against us. But in each region, we see Israelites are there. So let's go Philippians. Acts 17. Let me see what's that. Philippi. Just give me a second here. Yep. Look right here. Let me put it up. Let's see. Philippians. Let me go here. Philemon, that was written while he was in prison in Rome. Philippians. What's it say? Look, Paul and Timotheus, the servants of Yahushua Mashiach, to all the saints. Wait, why is he specifically addressing the saints? And didn't we prove that with Romans? So now you can use the breakdown for Romans as pertaining to the saints, and those gathered the saints together and made a covenant, which is Israel, Exodus 24, 5 through 8. So we see again that Apostle Paul, yes, he is writing a letter to those in Philippi, but those in Philippi he's directing this letter to are the saints. You see that? They are the saints. Okay? So those are what? Israelites. Okay? Israelites. So let me see here. When you go to Acts, I'll actually show you. Acts 16 and 12 is where you find Philippi. Acts 16 and 12. It says, and from thence to Philippi, which is the chief city of the part of Macedonia and a colony, and we were in the city abiding certain days. See? Let me see what else is in here. Just looking. Okay, I just want to see. Yep, the Lord told him to visit Macedonia. Oh, look. Now when they were gone throughout Phrygia and the region of Galatia, and then they traveled to where? Macedonia. But then when they got to Macedonia, what regions did they get to? Philippi, Thessalonica. And what's in Thessalonica? Acts 17, synagogue of Jews. So you mean to tell me there's just one synagogue here, but here there ain't no Israelites? So we found out Israelites are in Thessalonica, Philippi, Corinthians, Ephesus, Colossians, Phrygia, Galatia, all throughout, okay, are Israelites. So when you're reading these scriptures, you cannot isolate Israel just being in Israel. So now we've just pulled a slew of letters that Christians use today, and we're showing you that within these letters that they use, these letters are in a region where Israelites set up synagogues. Ain't that something? So next time they try to pull a Galatians, oh no, we got to go into the scriptures. Galatia is in the region. Isn't there a city called Phrygia in Galatia? Yeah. And also Colossians is in the region of Galatia. So did you know that you had Israelites, Jews, devout men that went to Jerusalem in Acts 2, and they were from Phrygia? See that? Let me just actually end it off on that to further this point. But, I just kind of was studying the other day and just started precepting these letters with accounts linking that to us as Israel. So real quick, Acts 2, and so read this again. It says, Acts 2 and 5, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. And then here's the nations. Look, Parthians and the Medes and the Elamites and the dwellers of Mesopotamia. Oh, look. And in Judea, and look, Cappadocia. Wait a minute. Cappadocia, Jews, devout men in Cappadocia, Jews, devout men in Phrygia, Jews, devout men under every nation under heaven. So these letters that we read today and who Apostle Paul was writing them to, the recipients are Israelites. We are those recipients. Look, and Pontus, Pontus, we just pulled that up. Aquila was born in Pontus. Ain't that funny? And look, Asia. Now we know why it says Asia. Asia Major, Asia Minor. See? That's a cut right there. Acts 2 and 9 is a complete cut because all Paul's letters are directed in Asia, basically, except for Corinth and Thessalonians and Philippians. Outside of that, this is all Asia. And it says Jews, devout men. So all you got to, the secret's right there. All you got to do is go to Acts 2 and look at all those nations, find out those regions, and then you look and say, great Scott, those nations where they're saying they're dwelling, later on, Apostle Paul went on a journey to those nations, and there was more Israelites in those nations. Very simple. Phrygia, prove that. Pamphylia, look, in Egypt, wait a minute, Apollos, Egypt, Apollos, Egypt, look, and in the parts of Libya, about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, new believers, see? And Cretes and Arabians, see? So right here, okay, right there, this shows you that you had Israelites scattered abroad, but they skip over this and go to Apostle Paul's letters, try to apply it to themselves, not knowing that the promise and the covenants was not for them. And I'll just end it on Romans 9, and that's the lesson. I just wanted to touch on that. I found that information to be edifying because they're always using these letters and applying them to themselves, not knowing that these letters were directed to Israelites that were scattered abroad, in so much that in Acts 2, it says that the Israelites that were scattered abroad were devout Jews, and they came from those nations to still go back to their commonwealth to serve their God. But then what's beautiful about that is then the Lord sent Apostle Paul out to those nations to gather in the lost sheep that may not have been able to go back to their commonwealth or didn't know that they had a commonwealth. You see, Romans 9:4, it says, who are Israelites? To whom? So the Israelites pertain to the adoption. So anytime anything about adoption comes up, you cannot apply that to yourself, because right here it says the Israelites pertain to the adoption, and the Israelites pertain to the glory, and the Israelites pertain to the covenant. You cannot put yourself in here if you are not an Israelite. And then they'll say, well, the Galatians, yes, the Galatians are Israelites that were scattered abroad because of the curses, but they don't want to hear that. It's fine. That's why we're not here for a debate. This is edification coming out. And the giving of the law and the service of Yahweh and the promises. There you go. Okay, so I just wanted to do that quick lesson. I really didn't even mean to make it this long, but I just wanted to correlate the letters that Christians attempt to use against us, not knowing that these letters, the recipient on the other end were Israelites as well. So this is an Israelite private affair, but because we're scattered abroad, now all other nations that we're surrounded in, now they believe that they can join in too. It's just like nothing. It's the same thing as the woman at the well, and that's why Yahushua said, you don't know what you worship. So let me just end it there. I just wanted to do that lesson. I pray that it was edifying, enlightening. Look it up yourself. Read the maps. Look into the history, and you'll see how these letters in those same regions, you have Israelites there. So just want to do that lesson. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to my elders and apostles of Great Millstone that do well. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect. With that being said, shalom.